Great news, everybody. We've finally completed our Continental Pro license so that we've got the top coaching qualification in the game. And that's going to be the only good news we're going to bring you through this entire episode because everything has gone catastrophically wrong. So this isn't one of those episodes where I spout doom and gloom during the intro and then tell you, well, it wasn't that bad, really. It really has been that bad. We've thrown it all away for the second season running. This is Ostereveen 2.0. We've got through to the final part of the season and we've imploded. We cannot buy a win at the moment. We've squandered the lead that we had going into the championship split. Things are looking rather bleak. Let's just pull the band-aid off and show you the form. We'll reverse the order of our fixtures so you can see exactly how bad things have been since our last episode. In that last episode, it was all looking so great. We were beating FCSB 2-0, establishing ourselves a lead at the top of the table. Well, we won our next game by the same margin, and then we managed to get a third 2-0 victory in a row when we beat Craiova, one of the teams that are right at the top of the table. By the way, they might just have made it a three-way title battle rather than just a chase between us and FCSB. And in our last game before the league split, we played Rapid, who've been a bit of a thorn in our side this season, and we could only manage a 1-1 draw, and we had to scramble to get that result. Then the league split, and the top six started to play each other home and away. It started fine. We beat Dynamo Bucharest 1-0 with a goal through Munteanu, but then we had another fixture against FCSB, and we were behind 3 times in this tie, and we had to keep trying to draw level. We absolutely dominated the match stats. Our XG was 3.1, FCSB's was 1.7. We had 12 shots on target to their 4. The only trouble is that they scored with 3 of those 4 shots on target. Our first equaliser came through Montiano, then Markovic, then Kordos got us the final equaliser before we had Morgosh sent off in the game as well, and we had to hold on a little bit once we were down to 10 men. A draw against our closest rivals was not a disaster. The disasters were yet to come. We managed to beat Craiova again, 5-2 in the next game. Played pretty well in this one as well. At one point, we were 4-1 up. They pulled it back to 4-2. Serjan scored late for us to make it 5-2. A pretty convincing performance. But then the wheels came off. We lost 3-2 to Farrell Constanta. At one point, we were 2-1 up in this game as Munteanu and Morgosh scored, but we let 2 goals in the final third of the game to drop points, and it was crucial because FCSB were winning that game. We bounced back in the cup. The first leg of our semi-final against Rapid, we won 3-0. Jovan Markovic rarely scoring a brace for us, but then in our most recent game, it was the worst performance of the season. We were crushed 4-0 by Dynamo Bucharest. This is the team that are in 6th place out of the top 6 that have broken off into this playoff group. We thought we'd taken the lead through Markovic, who had a goal disallowed, but then they scored a hat-trick for Mackenzie and a penalty, meant that we were left looking absolutely woeful. It all means that in our last 7 league games, we've only won 2 of those, and we've suffered 3 defeats, as well as throwing in a couple of draws as well. And it also means that our lead at the top of the table has evaporated. First of all, this idea before the league split of halving everybody's league total meant that we had our lead at the top of the table reduced from 7 points down to 3. You're halving it. We really should have been 3.5 points in the lead, and you should round that up to 4. But they cut our lead to 3, and we've blown it, so we're now trailing FCSB by a point. FCSB are not exactly in the greatest of form themselves. They've won their last 2 games, but only by a 1-goal winning margin, and they've also thrown in 2 draws and a defeat, one of those draws being against us, during their last 5 fixtures as well. So it's not like they're pulling up any trees, but they're doing enough to be ahead of us. And look out for the outside smoker in 3rd place as well, because Universitatea Craiova are only 5 points off the lead, but if they were to win today and us and FCSB were to play out a draw, they'd only be 3 points from the summit of the table, and we've got to play Craiova before the end of the season, so things are looking a little bit tense. If there was any kind of silver lining whatsoever, well, we've got the second leg of our cup semi-final against Rapid, and we hold a 3-goal lead. So you'd think we'd be favourites to make it into the final, but the team that we would be playing is probably going to be Farrell Constanta. They're 3-0 up from their first leg against a team from the second tier, so they should progress as well. And the last time we played Constanta, they beat us 3-2. So by no means would it be guaranteed that we'd be lifting that trophy. It could be that we're going to end this season having squandered a league title and lost in a cup final. I'm not sure whether this poor beating heart would be able to sustain such heartbreak. But let's have a look at some positives. And yes, I may well be clutching at straws here, because when we joined Austria Wien, we did make the call to do away with the use of two of the most overpowered roles in the game. We've not used an inside forward or a central midfielder on attack since we joined our previous club. So the fact that we're still in the hunt for honours is a triumph of tactical acumen. I did warn you that he was clutching at straws. But that said, form has been so bad recently, I think we're going to have to make a tactical tweak in order to try and save our season. We've had a team meeting during the week, and team meetings I normally avoid like the proverbial plague, by the way. But this one actually went well. We told the players that the pressure was on. We've got to win this game to get back into the title hunt, and they were fired up. It was like my Braveheart moment. But I think we're going to have to make a tweak to our system today in order to try and shake the players out of their malaise. So I've decided to disband the iconic 3 up front, and instead I'm going to try and give us a little bit more of a solid look. I'm going to take one of the 3 front players and move them into a defensive midfield position instead. I think the man that's going to miss out is Markovic. He's not been bad recently, but Gabby Debulia has been out of the team. He suffered a little niggle that ended up running for about 3 weeks. He's made a couple of sub appearances off the bench, but he's not really been involved for the last 4 or 5 games. But he should be back ready and raring today, and I'm thinking we're going to restore him to his target forward on attack alongside a now dual front force of Munteanu and Gabby Goal, and that's going to allow us to bring in Lovro Shvek, who's been out of the team through suspension for the last 2 games, another player that's incredibly crucial to us. He's just the player that gives us a bit of calmness and composure in the midfield, as well as being our most effective ball winner as well. And I'm hoping that this now diamond 4-man midfield might be able to just trick the AI into thinking things are a little bit different, because I think opposition managers have worked us out over recent games. So in order to try and just have a little bit more possession and try and control the game a little bit more rather than it being so frantic, we're going to drop from a positive mentality down to balanced, and hopefully that change in shape and personnel and mentality might just mean that we can hold on in this game for a little bit, try and stay in the game for the first 30 or 45 minutes, and then we might reassess if we need to go more attacking, because today, well, it's certainly a can't lose game, because that would mean that we would now be 4 points behind FCSB with only 3 games left to go. But if we could win it, well, the title would be back in our own hands, and we would be 2 points clear at the top of the table. This has the feel of the most crucial fixture we've played in all of FM22 Mercenary. So my goodness, could we do with a win during today's game? We've looked so fragile recently. I'm hoping this change of shape might just mean that we might be able to just stun the opposition. But early on in this game, it's a highlight for our opponents as our goalkeeper comes to the rescue. He's not played well, by the way, recently, as it looks like that chance was offside. But after just 12 minutes, we're into the highlights again. We've got the ball through Morgosh. We've now got a little bit more shape in our midfield, so we should be able to find our players with our passes a little bit more easier than we were previously. But we've still got these 2 very advanced fullbacks, so hopefully we'll have outlets out wide. We've got Morgosh down the right in acres of space if we could find him. Instead, we've played through the midfield and we've gone left to Operate. Can he get a ball into the box that our 2 strikers might just be able to get onto? And Gabby was there, but Gabby's rusty. Gabby's not played for the best part of a month, and he fluffed his lines on that occasion. The highlight continues, though. We're all the way back again with our defenders. We're playing the ball out wide to Operate again. He was appalling in our last game, by the way. I think he got a 6.1. He's not been paid this week, and we need a little bit of a return from him today if we're going to get a victory. Well, we did say we wanted to play our way into this game. The opening half an hour has not seen too much action. We've perhaps shaded it in terms of shots, although they've had 1 more shot on target. And this is what happened when we played them last. They had barely any efforts. but they scored 3 goals from just the 4 shots they had during the match. We want to try and avoid a repeat of that. Again, we're coming forward. Nielsen gets the ball to Operate. Everything's been coming down our left, and we're glad that it has on this occasion because Operate has sent a cross into the box, and Serjan has arrived from his number 10 position, and he has crashed home an effort from about 10 yards out, I would say. And 38 minutes on the clock, and we have got a crucial lead against our title rivals. It's just clipped the underside of the bar as it's flown in, and so far, our little tactical experiment has borne fruit. We've only had 3 shots on target during the first half, the same as our opponents, and right on the edge of half-time, we get away with one as they send a corner in and head it over the bar. It shows that they are still a threat in this game. The ref has signalled the end of the first period of play. We've got to go in and tell the players that they've played pretty well, but they need to find another gear. Okay, we rallied the troops at half-time, but we are keeping an eye on a couple of our players, particularly Denis Ciobotariu in defence. He's not at full fitness, and neither has he had a great first half either, so we might need to make a little change before we get too much further into this second period. But Operate's on the ball again. It's been all him. We've not really seen much from Morgosh down the right-hand side, as we just send an effort over the bar on that occasion. With just over an hour played, I think it's time for our first change. Denis Ciobotariu is struggling for match sharpness. We did get a little notification before the game that we should probably limit him to just 75 minutes during this game. So I think we're going to make a change. We're going to bring on Rakovitan, who again is another really strong defender. So I've got no qualms about bringing him onto the pitch. And for our second change, I'm also looking at a couple of our players who are playing poorly and are suffering from nerves. And one of them is Vasily Morgosh, who we did say hasn't really contributed much during this first half. Maybe our next change should be to bring on Viral Vlad, who's delighted for reasons that escape me. But we might bring that delighted little character onto the pitch, and with 62 minutes played, we've made 2 of our 3 changes. This 1-goal lead is feeling very fragile as we edge our way into the final 10 minutes of the game. With that, I think we might look to make our final change. We've got Operate, who's been superb on the left flank. He's looking incredibly tired. Maybe Nielsen in midfield, though, is not quite as out of energy, but I don't like that nervous body language heading in to the final part of the game. Maybe the other change we could make might be to bring on Pervu into midfield for Nielsen, and that's going to require a little bit of a rejig. So we'll bring Serjan back into the central midfield because he can play that role, and we'll bring Florescu across to be our central midfielder on a defend function. And now we're going to be relying on these boys to see out the last 9 minutes plus stoppage time. We've got the ball with our own back line. It's back to Hindrich. He sent a long ball forward to Munteanu. We've not seen either of our strikers involved in this game, really. Could they just pop up at the death and seal us this win? Pervu's only just come onto the pitch. He's in. He sent an effort that stung the palms of the opposition keeper, but he wasn't able to seal the win for us. We've gone straight into another highlight. Still, we haven't been able to get the time wasting on. Viral Vlad plays it to Dabulia. The first time I think I've said his name during the game. And Pervu's come on the bench and he sealed it. 2-0 against FCSB. This will send us back to the top of the table. This will give us a 2-point lead at the top of the table. And with just 3 games to go, it could be back in our own hands. Gabby plays the ball across the box, and Pervu just ghosts in. That's 2 goals from 2 different players in our number 10 position. And let's just belts and braces. We are going to throw on the full time wasting just to try and make sure that nothing happens during injury time that's going to put a spanner in the works. We've got one final highlight. It's an attacking one for us. Dabulia looks to try and throw himself to the ground to win us another penalty. Unfortunately, he got his dive wrong on that occasion, but that has the feeling of an almighty vital win for us. But as we go away and look to plot a path not only to our first top flight league title, but also to a cup final appearance as well, maybe this is the next video you might like to check out if you're looking for a club that might be the inspiration for your next FM22 adventure.